got a very special Upland update today. The one and only Dirk Lueth, co-founder of Upland, is going to join us for the first time on this show. He's never been here before to talk about the Open Metaverse Alliance and what it means for Upland. Very excited to have him on. We're also going to take a trip down memory lane with one of our original Upland players and show you what the game used to be like, what it used to look like. But first, Rio is officially in Upland. It's here. It launched this week. We're excited to welcome Rio. We're excited to welcome Brazil to the Metaverse. It launched in a big way. We broke records, 54 mints per second. 54 mints per second. It was crazy. And I thought for today's Upland update, what better way to celebrate Rio in the Metaverse? What better way to celebrate Brazil entering Upland than to do the dance, the samba dance. Welcome, Rio, to Upland. We're very happy to have you. You're a great addition to the Metaverse. Next up, one of our first players, the Turbo, posted an interesting thread over on Twitter where he reminisced about his journey in Upland. And for all of us here at Upland, it was a trip down memory lane I wanted to share with you guys because many of you have never seen the beginnings of Upland. He starts out 3 years ago on the 25th of July, 2019, I started my journey in Upland. It's been an amazing ride through the years, and Upland has been rapidly growing in terms of number of players and quality. Until now, it still has one of the most helpful communities in all of gaming. And I agree with him. This community is amazing. You guys are amazing. He's talking about you. You guys are amazing. He continues, I was hooked right from the beginning because it was so amazing to buy properties that are connected to the real world and own them on the blockchain. It was something brand new, and back then we were only around 100 players in the early days of the closed alpha version. Now, a couple things I want to point out here. Check out how the properties used to look, how the property cards used to look. A lot different. That's throwing it back. That's old school. Many of you have never seen that. At that point in time, Upland was just a small team of like 10 to 20 team members, and they were releasing properties randomly in small groups across San Francisco. Once those were bought, they released the next batch. There was no Block Explorer yet, just us and the properties. And here's a screenshot of how the original map looked, the original tags, the property tags, the UI looks completely different. No Block Explorer. There used to be a time in Upland where there was no Block Explorer. Crazy. Turbo continues, the competition was almost non-existent, so you could buy lots of properties until you had to wait for Upland to unlock the next batch. Nobody knew that we were buying the very first 619 properties of such an amazing game. Today, all of those represent the famous established 2019 collection. And here's a picture of that collection. And this is a shot of that collection in that original UI. Again, even the collection cards, look how far they've come compared to today. Very cool. When Upland released the first Block Explorers, I was flying around with the little blue well. Look at the design in the screenshot. It's quite a retro style in retrospect. It really is. Look at everything has changed in this UI, from the UpX to the Block Explorer all the way down to the compass on the left-hand side. It's so much fun to see how far Upland has come. This is history. I was very proud, says Turbo, when I finally received my own custom Block Explorer in early 2020, a digital version of a private jet. I'm still using it and has become a piece of my gaming history in Upland. And it is an iconic, you guys have probably seen the Turbo jetting around Upland. He finishes, we've come such a long way and many entertaining features are still to come within the next months. Car racing, shops, international cities, third-party apps. Upland has grown from a startup to a medium-sized company and has valued over 300 million USD as of November 2021. Well said, Turbo. It's exciting. I share his sentiment. Very excited to see where the next 3 years bring us. Thank you, Turbo, for taking us down that trip of memory lane. If you haven't yet, make sure you go follow the Turbo over on Reddit. Check out the thread. There's a lot more there that he talks about in his history and journey in Upland. A link is in the description below. And here's to the next 3 years in Upland. And last but not least, let's talk about the Open Metaverse Alliance, because it's kind of a big deal. That's right, this week Upland took a major step in achieving its vision to rebuild the world And we're proud to announce that Upland is one of the founding blockchain-based metaverses to launch the Open Metaverse Alliance. And here to talk about it on today's Upland update is Dirk Lueth, who really spearheaded this effort and led the way in bringing together the Open Metaverse Alliance. Dirk, thank you for joining us today. What is the Open Metaverse Alliance? How did it come together, and what does it mean for Upland?
Yeah, X1, hey, thank you for having me and for the recording here and being on the Upland update. I think it's actually the first time for me. So OMA3 actually stands for for Open Metaverse Alliance for Web3, and we announced that basically last week while I was in London at the conference. And the idea came about when I was actually on a panel together with Sebastian Bourget from Sandbox, with Saro from Alien Worlds, and a few others from Baptiste from Space. And we said, hey, we actually have to go start working together. What we basically say is that the world is moving away from being application-centric to user-centric, and that we have to work together to empower the users to actually take their assets from one world to the other. I organized a meeting where we have all the blockchain OGs companies in the room together. We had people from dApp Labs, we have Decentraland, Sandbox I mentioned. There are lots of people together in the room there and said, hey, we have to work together. And we started then OMA3. We have also a website called oma3.org, and the basic idea is when we say, hey, what does it mean user-centric? So just imagine, one day, obviously, we're going to have cars, right? And when you want to take maybe one day your car, for whatever reason, you want to take that car and maybe raise it also in another metaverse, right? So that's where we say, okay, we want to enable that. We want to empower the users to do that, because maybe the car has certain characteristics or it has been damaged in Upland. Maybe that damage should also be seen in the sandbox, right? So that's a little bit the approach we're taking. The other thing is, when you take maybe identity, also maybe you have an identity in one metaverse and you want to take parts of that identity maybe to another metaverse. So this is what it drives actually the idea about the Open Metaverse Alliance. And we're going to focus very much on everything what is around blockchain and Web3. There's another Metaverse Standards Forum, what was started, also announced like roughly 4 weeks ago by the big guys, by Microsoft, Adobe. There's a lot of big players in there, and we're going to join that as the Open Metaverse Alliance for Web3. We're going to join that in sort of a delegation, right, to make sure we synchronize also there, on file formats and lots of other things which needs to be done. It's a lot of technical details. Always promote the Open Metaverse. We're launching the NFT portal. We did that already with a Wax project. We also let the users import crypto kitties, right? So with the Kitty Island, as you probably know, some of you. So and we want to extend that, right, going forward with the NFT portal and allow that, right? So when we do that, we also want to empower the Upland users or the Uplanders, right, to really go from, take their assets and bring that to another metaverse, or invite other metaverse citizens to come to Upland. This will increase the liquidity for all of us at the end of the day. It makes it much more interesting because you get many more players into the Upland metaverse. What is also important maybe to mention is that we see a future where it's very smooth for the users, right? At the beginning, it will be probably more between two worlds to go just between, let's say the Sandbox or Upland. But in the future, you will have probably much more possibilities to go really to every world you want to go. But I want to also make it clear, it will take a lot of time until this is possible, right? Because standards forums, they need a lot of discussion, a lot of agreements, until you see the results. So what I believe, what we're seeing first is, we're probably more partnerships between two worlds at the beginning, and out of those partnerships we're probably going to create standards going forward, but the future will tell.
Thank you, Dirk, for joining us today. Upland continues to lead the way. Very excited about the Open Metaverse Alliance and to see where the metaverse goes from here. And that does us for today's episode, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys in Upland.